Hi all, welcome to SI Cloud Trainings. My name is Shalini Neralla. Let's get started with Boomi Atom Sphere Basic Training Day 10 session. The agenda plan for today is we'll discuss about database to Salesforce Upsert action. With an example, we'll see cross-reference table, default values in map, simple Java scripting. And we'll then see how we call a stored procedure in database operation. We'll then discuss best design practices. Right? So let's start. So in our last class, we have seen connector call to insert the data if it is not present and to update if the record already exists, right? But also Salesforce and Boomi provides us a provision where we can either insert or update using upsert action. Right? So upsert action is a convenient way to do common insert new or update existing integration. So in our last class for connector call, we had used different profiles and different operations, right? And we can now avoid all of them using upsert action, right? So let's go to Boomi and now create a folder date 10, right? So we have created folder date 10 and now let's create a component. So we'll call this as db2 SF Upsert. Right? So let's say no data and take your source database and get action, select your connection and create an operation here, account database operation, create your profile and import your profile. So now select SF underscore account. Say next. So select all the fields here, say next, finish. Right? So this is done. Now let's configure our target. So I'll take Salesforce here and say send action. Choose your connection and operation account upsert and say import. Say next. Select your action upsert and next. So now just say next. And now observe here there is something called external ID, right? So this external ID is used as reference by Salesforce to determine if the record exists or no. So if you see here, we do not have any external IDs. In order to use this feature, we need to customize the account Salesforce object to have at least one field as the external ID. Also, objects can have multiple external IDs defined. In that case, we will go and select which external ID to choose. Right? So now let's go to Salesforce and let's create one external ID. So if you go here, if you see, there's something called edit object here. So just go to the edit object here. So edit object and you can go into fields and relationships. Fields and relationships. So it lists out all the fields in account object for you. Right? Now I can go and create one new. Can either create a new one, new custom object or make an existing object or field as the external ID. So let me select as text and just say next. So give the label as account external ID and field as 50. So description, just give this as this is the external ID. And you can check these options if required. Is it required? External ID. So this sets the unique record identifier from external system. So you can go and check this external ID. Okay. And say next. Next. So this is created. Okay. Now if I see the list here, fields list, you'll see account external ID and see this data type. This is marked as external ID. Now what am I going to do? Go back to platform and import the profile back again. So select Upsert, say next. Say next and done. Now if you see the external ID, you can see account external ID populated here. So you can just go and select it. Say save and close. Right? So this is done. Now use a map here and say DB to SF Upsert map. Select your database and your XML profile Salesforce. So see here you can see account external ID underscore C. Right. So now to this external ID field, I will concatenate 2 to 3 fields and give it to this external ID for reference. Right. So now go here, say string concat, and I'll map all the unique fields which can form me a unique reference. So I'll say name and then I will say account number and then I'll say type. So three of them I'm mapping together and giving as a unique reference. And I'll say delimiter as underscore. Okay, so this is done. Now let me give them here. So say name to name, account number here and type. So the result will go to account external ID underscore C. And now you can use Boomi suggests. So we are combining three fields and forming unique reference for Salesforce to identify whether that record exists or no. So this I can remove. Remove all the ID fields because these are something that is created by Salesforce. We should not give this. So owner ID created by ID, last modified by ID can be removed. Right. So this is done now. Save and close and just attach this. Use a stop shape here. So this is done. Now if you go to database here, see first load will create new records and we'll then first insert them. Once external ID is created, we'll do a initial load. Okay, so I have test1, test2. Into Salesforce, we have these records here. So see here, we have these records. So first load we'll do insert. So let's see, it have to get created. So see here now. Now if you go here and see all accounts, you'll be able to see test1, test2 has been created. Okay. Let me check this return application responses as well. Okay. So this has been created. Now what am I going to do? I'll create one more record and I will create one more record here. I'll say test3 prospect prospect, and let me copy the same to account number. And now I'll give the billing street for all of them. Okay. I'll say Vizag. So for all the three records, I'm updating. Right. So now this new record have to be created and the rest two have to get updated using Upsert action. So let's see if it is working or no. Test. So this is created. Let's see. So with return application responses, your process goes into green, but you need to go and check the response if it is success or no. So 12 is usually for success. You'll see here the ID created and success true. Right. So now we'll go into Salesforce and you'll now see here test1, test2, test3 created and test1 billing address we'll see. So see here, this is the account external ID created. So this will be used as a reference for the next time. Okay, and see your billing address Vizag. So this is how it works. So using a single action, we are letting Salesforce determine whether the record have to go and create or to get updated. Right? This is a very important topic of Upsert and very usually used in the outside world. Right? So this is done now. Now you've got one scenario. The client have asked you to give. So in your source, say if you're getting the account type as IT, it have to go into the target as integrator. So see here in your Salesforce, these are drop down. So you need to select one among this drop down only. So if you see here, this is a drop down. The type is a drop down here. Right? So you need to select one among these only. But your source might not be the same of values what are given here. So your source may be IT, which is integrator in your target. Right? So now I've said like this. I'm giving IT here, which means integrator, CT here, which means customer, and PT here, which means prospect. This is clear. Okay. Now, one other thing is if phone doesn't exist, say I have given here 567890. So I've given something like this. So if this value is present, this should go in, else some default value have to be populated. Okay, that's for phone field. Then we have something called industry here. So see your industry. So for industry, let's go here and see what all values are there. So say chemicals, banking. Okay, for two of them I've given chemical and banking here. So there is one request that if the industry is coming from source, send it the same. If industry is not coming from the source, in the target, the value should be not provided. Okay, so three scenarios, three of them. One is if the account type is IT, it should be integrator in your target, CT customer, PT prospect. And next one is phone is a mandatory field in your target. Okay, so you can give a default value there. So we'll see that. And then for industry, if the value is coming from source, map the same to the target. Else, the target should have not provided value. Okay, so it should be a value called not provided in the target. So we'll now see how to work on this. So if I go to platform here now, back, and so for these type of scenarios, CT, customer, so if I want to map these kind of things, what I have is something called cross reference table, right? So you have something cross reference lookup here in lookup, cross reference lookup. So you can create a cross reference table here. So I'll just say type cross reference table, and see here by default you are having 6, but you can update your table definition. So the number of columns I need is only 2. One is for DB underscore type and the other is for SF underscore type. Right? And now I can see here there is something called data match as well, whether it is exact match or matches regular expression or matches wildcards. You can either import the file from CSV or you can create here. So I'll create 3 of them. So if I'm getting DB type as IT, it should go as integrator here. If I'm getting CT, it should go as customer. If it is PT, it should go as prospect. Right? Like this, you can define. So here we'll have a limitation for cross-reference table that you'll have 6 rows and 10,000 rows and 6 columns only allowed. Okay. So save and close this. This is done. Now you have to select the lookup reference. So this will be DB type and my target will be SF type. So map your DB underscore type here. Account type. So I can give this here. And SF underscore type. You can define here. So I'll remove the mapping for this type and I'll give SF underscore type. This is done. So remember that we can have any number of source, but for target there'll be only one mapping. Okay. And one other thing, now for industry, if it is coming from source, the value should go the same. Else there should be a static value called not provided. In that case, I'll make use of a scripting component, custom scripting. Okay. So recently in the latest release, we've got scripting as a component. So you can use this scripting as a component or you can write inline script. And languages supported are Groovy and JavaScript. So I'll write a simple JavaScript now. I'll say if industry not equal to null, which means if value is present, then I'm saying out equal to industry. So to my out variable, assign the same value that is coming from industry. Else, give a static value not provided. So out equal to not provided. So this is a simple scripting that we have written. So make sure that this matches. So input you'll be giving here and out you'll be giving in outputs and say okay. So now map your industry here, industry to industry and out to industry. This is clear. Now for phone, if we are having that value, that particular value should go, else some default value should go. Something similar to scripting what we have done. But also what we can do here is we can use a default value here. Set default value 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So say in your particular scenario, you've got this as a mandatory field in target. In that case, you are not sure if this value comes from source or no. So if you use a default value, what happens is if the value comes from source, that will take priority. If there is no value coming from source, this default value will go in, right? So this is clear. Now let's execute and see. Save and execute. So this is done. Now all success. If I go here, test 1 2 3 are created. So duplicates are created here because we have modified the account type. So for our particular use case, I modified this account type, which is one of the field in the account external ID. So for that reason it has created. But now if you go and see here the data, so details, I'll be able to see here type as integrated. So I've given the type as IT, which is now integrated here. And for the other one, so this is test 2. You'll be able to see the value customer. For CT, it goes as customer. And for 3, this goes as prospect, right? So see here now your external ID is modified and so it had created a new record. Okay. And phone. So if it is not present, the default value will go like this. And if it is present, it will go the value that is given there from here. Okay. And industry not provided. So if the value is not present, it will go as not provided. Right? Clear? So this is how it works. So industry we have provided for this, right? So let's go here and see. Industry, chemical. Okay, we have not applied this. So this is now done. So for this, now it should go and update this. And you need to see the industry. Okay, let's execute. So this is done. Now this is success. If I go here, just refresh this. We should be able to see the value here. So see now in details. The industry has been updated to banking. And here this has been updated to, you'll see here for test 3 it's not provided, so we've got it not provided. And for test 1 it is chemical. And phone number, if it exists, it comes this value, else the default value what we have provided had come, right? So this is how we actually work with database and Salesforce integrations. This is clear. And there are few limitations when we use Salesforce merge. I have not mentioned this in the last class. I forgot to mention. So let me repeat the limitations over here. So use merge only with objects, account, contact, and lead. Merge up to 3 records in a single request, including master record. To merge more than 3 records, we use same master record in each request. Merge up to 200 requests in a single SOAP call. Do not use external fields. So this is one important interview question. So it's good to know the limitations with Salesforce merge. So now we are clear with all this. Now our next one is how we use a stored procedure. Now for example, I've gone to MySQL. So I'll take the simple stored procedure. Okay. So this is a simple stored procedure. I'll go here and I'll just paste this here. Alright. So now let me execute this. This is created now. So if I refresh this, I can see the routine name as find name. What this particular procedure does is, it is a procedure to find the name when you provide the ID. When you provide the name of a person, of an employee, it have to return you the E number and company. So we have seen this employees table, right? So we have seen this employees table. So just remove this. Go here, select staff from employees here. So we have seen this E number, E name, company. So on providing E name, I want E number and company. So this particular procedure does it. And this is loading into a temporary table. So this is a table created. It creates a table for me, another table called temp underscore employees. And it will populate this particular E number and company for me. Also, I'm saying select E number, company from employees. So this also have to show me in the output. Okay, this is clear. So now I need to call this procedure from Boomi. What am I going to do? So go to Boomi process. I'll just create another process here. I'll call this process name as database stored procedure call. So just say no data here, use a database, and say get action, database connection, and operation. So let me create the profile here. And you will have something called stored procedure read. So now I can import from the existing list. So here it will give you the procedure name. Select the field you want to give the one. So see here, the database profile import wizard cannot generate the cursor and result set columns, but you can add them manually after closing the wizard. Click the blue arrow next to the fields in the profile. Right. So what it says is, now it returns me two of the values, E number and company. So if I don't give them fields here, it will not return for me. So if I want those fields, I'll just say E number and company. So I can manually provide these values here. Okay, say save and close. Save and close. And stop. And now let me give the value here, give a static value here. For this one, give a static value ABC. So let's see. So if you go here, see here, for ABC, enum is 100 and company ESI. So let's see. One thing we'll have to remember is we need to give the result set columns manually. So now this is executed. Now if you see here, the output document, see, you'll see 100 and ESI. And it should also create a table for me here. So let's see if it is created. See here, temp underscore employees, and if I say this, select star from temp underscore employees. See here, 100 ESI. So this is how we work with stored procedures. Okay. So that's about it. And now we'll see about the best practices. So as we discussed, it is good to have a common components to reuse the use connections or any other operations or whatever. You can use common components. And one other thing you'll have to make sure is about licenses. You have to the licenses that we have to use. So you will have to reuse the connections. This should be very sure that you are not creating new connections for the same reference. Okay. And then the naming conventions of your process and the description. All these have to be clear. And if you are having more logic, those have to go into sub processes. So also we will discuss more about the design guidelines. So now let's go back to these slides, right? So cross-reference table. The cross-reference table is a data structure that replaces a runtime lookup computation with a much simpler lookup operation. The gain in processing speed can be significant because retrieving a value from memory is much faster than performing a database or other connected lookup. Okay? And limitation 6 columns, 10,000 rows. Some common use cases of cross-reference table are a simple value translation between system A and system B, such as item codes, unit of measure, status codes, or any other type of code. Reusable translations, for example, US state abbreviations. Switch or case logic, atom-specific map default values, atom-specific connection default values, to parameterize any process step with atom-specific values for deployment to multiple locations or customers. And then custom scripting. So custom scripting allows you to perform custom manipulations and logic within a process to accomplish unique and advanced requirements that fall outside Boomi AtomSphere's native functionality. Custom scripting is available with a custom scripting step of a data process shape or a custom scripting map function. You can implement custom scripting in one of the two ways. Insert an inline script for one-time use, reference a process reporting or map scripting component that is available for reuse. AtomSphere supports two common scripting languages, JavaScript and Groovy. So JavaScript and Groovy share many similarities in syntax. Right? And custom script libraries. To support custom scripting, you can reference custom Java classes that were deployed outside of AtomSphere by placing the package jar files in the userlib script directory. You can do that in one of the following ways. Upload jar files into AtomSphere account library, set up account libraries, add those files to a custom library component and deploy the component to the appropriate atom molecule atom cloud or environment. For jar files that support custom scripting, you create a custom library component with a type of scripting. When you deploy the component, the jar files that it references are deployed to userlib script directory. If the userlib script directory does not exist, AtomSphere creates it. Right? So the other way is load jar files manually into the appropriate directory of a local atom molecule or private atom cloud. After you load the jar files, a restart will be required. To avoid runtime conflicts with other connector class, load your jar files into the installation directory /userlib/script directory. Account specific jar files must be loaded into installation directory, accounts, account name, user lib, script directory. If the user lib script directory doesn't exist, you must create it. So if you have access to your system where the Atom is installed, then you can go with the second option of loading it manually. Else you can go with the first option where we can upload the jar files into the account library. Clear? So this will be seeing in advanced course. We'll be doing this with an example. Right? So then components that can be extended. So this is one interview question. Connection, trading partner, process properties, cross-reference tables, certificates and maps can be extended. And see here design guidelines. The process name should follow this particular format. So source system, function, type of data, action performed, destination system. So it's good to give this particular format so it will be easy to understand. So source system SF, function we are referring to employee records, and update action performed is update, and destination system. So you need to provide this kind of format. This is one best design guidelines. Right? So that's the end of our day 10 session. If you have any queries, please let us know. Thank you.